Hello everybody, Let's for Life here, bringing you guys a brand new video, Archetype analysis on Metaphys. So this is one that I've been really looking forward to doing because I absolutely love Metaphys so far. I've been playing them a lot and they are an incredibly fun deck and they're really dirt cheap to build too. Like you don't need to worry about getting your hands on worm baits like you do with crawlers. So everything in this deck is like $2 and under, and it's just a really fun deck. It's really cool and it has a bunch of different interactions, and it's also a bit of a homage to old school Yu-Gi-Oh, because every single monster in the deck except for one are monsters that used to be just normal dragons and now they've been reborn as worms in the deck, well, for this deck. And it's just really intriguing to see how they did that and like tie it all together as like a lore kind of thing. Makes me wonder what we're going to get for like future support for this deck. So the general strategy is that the monsters, well, three of the monsters, the three main ones, want to be banished. And whenever they get banished during the following standby phase, you get an effect, and then they shuffle themselves back in the deck, and then you get that effect. And then they also all have something whenever they have been summoned by the effect of a Metaphys monster. And then there's two other Metaphys monsters that support that theme by special summoning more Metaphys monsters or by banishing cards. And then there's also two Metaphys monsters from Duelist Alliance who might as well not even be part of the Archetype, but well, we'll still talk about them. The bulk of this deck is incredibly high level worms. Actually, they're all worms, but the majority of them are incredibly high level. There's really only one monster you can normal summon, well, without the help of the field spell. And that leaves some bricky hands, but however, it also kind of makes sense because, well, the deck, they're all just reborn monsters. They're retrains of old monsters from back in the day. Now, luckily, you can use a lot of things to mitigate drawing into all those bricky monsters. And yeah, it's really fun to play. Now then, another thing. It's very control-based. Like, you wouldn't think it whenever you first see this deck, but it is very much a control-based deck. And that's mostly because two of the monsters, Daedalus and then Metaphys, banish stuff whenever they're summoned, and they, like, wipe out the whole board. So, it's a very control-based deck, surprisingly, and then the Continuous Trap also does a lot of controlling stuff. So, yeah, we'll get all into that whenever we get to more specifics. So, let's first talk about the main three. Metaphys Tyrant Dragon, Metaphys Metaphys, and Metaphys Daedalus. So, as I said earlier, these three all get effects whenever they are banished. Tyrant Dragon lets you special summon a monster from your hand, Metaphys lets you search out a Metaphys card, and Daedalus allows you to banish another Metaphys card. However, you can only do it during the following standby phase. And then they shuffle themselves back into the deck from after being banished, well, after using their effect. So, that is really good, just being able to swarm the field, search out cards, and then be able to banish stuff. It's a bit slow because, again, it's during the following standby phase, and you aren't going to be banishing these guys during your draw phase, unless, like, you get, like, I don't know, a dropout dropped on you, and you have Macrocosmos activated, but I don't see that happening anytime soon. Now then, another interesting thing that I almost forgot to mention, Metaphys Tyrant Dragon, the monster he special summons gets banished during the following end phase. Not that current turn's end phase, but the next one after that. So, really good effects. It's all promoting the archetype, and it's what it wants to do in its general theme. Then also they all get effects whenever they are special summoned by the effect of a Metaphys monster. And notice how I said Metaphys monster. That's very obnoxious that it has to be a Metaphys monster effect that summons them. But, however, there's three main ways you can do it. Well, I should say really two, but the third way happens every now and then. So, Tyrant Dragon, he gets to attack twice and is unaffected by trap cards. Metaphys banishes all face-down spell and trap cards. And then Daedalus banishes all special summon monsters on the field. So, three really great effects. All three of these cards are just really great in general for the deck. And they are really powerful. And if they trigger, your opponent's going to be having a tough time during their turn. Now, another thing to note, both Metaphys and Tyrant Dragon are level 8, and Daedalus is level 7. So you can play stuff like Trade-In and cards from, what was it called? Sacred Swords of 7 stars, something like that, to help get these guys out of your hand and get more cards. Now then, this main starter, and the only non-tribute summon monster in the deck is Metaphys Ragnarok. So he's the only level 4 and under monster, and he's a tuner for some reason. I think they made him a tuner only because one of the 2 monsters that don't fit with the theme but are named Metaphys is a synchro from Noah's Alliance. So I guess if we get future support down the line, we might be able to do that. But as of right now, there's no way to summon the Metaphys synchro with Ragnarok unless I could play an outside level 2 monster. And this card has 2 really great effects. So its first effect is whenever it's normal or special summon, you can banish the top 3 cards of your deck, and if you do, this card gains 300 attack for each Metaphys card banished by this effect. When this card inflicts battle damage to your opponent, you can special summon a level 5 or higher Metaphys monster from your deck, but banish it during the end phase of the next turn. You can only use each of his effects once per turn. So it's a hard once per turn for both effects, and you can only use each effect once a turn. So it's really good, but also very restricting. So if you get multiple Metaphys Ragnaroks, which you will over a few turns, you don't really get a lot of advantage off of having multiples, other than just banishing more cards from the top of your deck, and of course getting more damage on board. Now then, with that being said though, this card is just the epitome of a great starter card. Not only does it banish the top 3 cards of your deck, but it then also, just by inflicting battle damage, which it pumps up its own attack, and there's a way to reduce your opponent's attack as well, you get to summon any monster, any Metaphys monster from your deck for free, just from doing damage, which is great. This card, I have no issues with, other than it just being a hard once per turn, which does come up every now and then where you're like, oh crap, I already summoned a Ragnarok this turn and I can summon on another one, but there's no reason to. So, it's a really great card, my only qualm being that it's a hard once per turn for both effects. And then we got the boss monster, who, again, doesn't really fit with the rest of the theme, kind of, sort of, but however, he's still, I want to say good, but it's, like, mediocre. This card is very much a mediocre boss monster, and it's so close to being good. It really was. So, Metaphys Executor, he's a level 10 worm effect monster, 3k attack, 2500 defense, great stats, everything. And then he cannot be normal summoner set and must be special summoned from your hand by banishing 5 Metaphys cards with different names from your graveyard and or face up on your field. He cannot be destroyed or banished by card effects, and once per turn, if your opponent controls more cards than you do, you can target one of your banished Metaphys monsters, special summon it, but banish it during the end phase of the next turn. So, and I know it doesn't mention it, but, okay, so, yeah. This card could have been so much better. Okay, so first and foremost, banishing 5 Metaphys cards with different names from your field or graveyard is not an easy feat to do. And oftentimes, you have to banish your spells and traps that you control, and you don't want to do that because you don't want to lose your spells and traps. So you generally just leave them in your hand until you got a crap ton of the spells and traps in your graveyard from your opponent, nuking them with Twin Twisters and stuff. And then even then, sometimes people play Galaxy Cyclone still. So then you don't get to even do that. And not only that, but also when you do get to summon him, yeah, sure, you can summon a monster from your hand, from your banish zone once per turn if you control less cards than your opponent, but that's not a quick effect, and it's not really all that great too, because you got to be in a losing position. This card is kind of like sort of supposed to be your comeback. Oh, hey, yeah, you're losing. Okay, you top deck him. Hey, yeah, you can banish all 5 of your cards that your opponent just nuked to the board. I mean, nuked from the board into the graveyard last turn. Special summon him. Use his effect, bring back one of your monsters. Cool, fine and dandy. The big issue with this card, though, is that for all the trouble you have to go through to summon it, you only get a card who can't be disturbed by card effects or banished by card effects. Now, the reason why he can't be banished is because Metaphys Daedalus would otherwise banish him. So, thankfully, you don't have to worry about that. Now then, this card does have a few things going for it. Obviously, it has that. And then just being able to bring back a monster once per turn is great too. You can bring back your Daedalus, wipe out your opponent's board. You can bring back your Tyrant Dragon, do even more damage. You can bring back your Nephthys, banish your opponent's back row. You can bring back your Ragnarok, and then, just get more stuff going. But this card really is a bit of a brick. I can't support playing more than 2 of this card. The only reason why I say play 2 of them is because you're going to be getting rid of him with the draw card a lot of the times, so that just helps unbrick you. But you'd rather be banishing one of the three, one of the main three. So really, honestly, this card, I'd say one or two of, if you want to play him at all. He is a great card to make a comeback with, though. And something that I actually can't find any rulings on right now is his interaction with Evenly Matched, because he says he can't be banished by card effects. So I wonder if, like, because he's on the field, if like you have to banish everything but him, or if you just pretend he's not even there and banish a bunch of other stuff. I don't know, because if like you get evenly matched with this deck, it is terrible getting evenly matched by your opponent, because they all get banished face down, so you don't even get their effects and stuff. But either way, Executor could have been a great boss monster. I really wish, if I had to like have any way that I could like improve him, if he could banish cards in your hand to summon him, he'd be so much better. But no, you gotta be face up on your field or in your graveyard. So yeah, one or two of, if you play them at all. And then we got the spells and trap. Yeah, that's right, 2 spells and a trap. And it's a continuous spell, a field spell, and a continuous trap card. So the field spell helps you get the level 5 or higher monsters out of your hand. Each turn, one level 5 or higher Metaphys monster you normal summon can be normal summoned without tributing, but banish it during the end phase of the next turn. And then your opponent cannot activate cards or effects in response to your Metaphys monster effects activations. And that's really the big thing too, because knocking out your opponent from being able to Ghost Ash your Ragnarok, or Ghost Ogre your stuff, or Effect Fill or Breakthrough Skill, anything like that, you don't have to worry about it now, because Metaphys Factor says your opponent cannot stop your monster effects from activating, which is amazing. Now, yeah, it does also help you unbrick by, letting you normal summon the big guys. But honestly, that doesn't come up all that often, because you're mainly going to be normal summoning your Ragnarok. Unless, like, you absolutely have to, because you don't have a Ragnarok in hand, and you got a bunch of really high level monsters, and you need to be able to get them out of your hand and onto the field. Or if you need to get that extra damage with like Tyrant Dragon or anything, then yeah, that makes sense why you would use it. But for the most part, you're mainly using Factor to lock your opponent out from being able to Ghost Dash your Ragnarok, because that's not a great feeling at all. So yeah, and then we got the continuous spell, Ace of Metaphys. God, I don't know why that's so hard for me to say. So, it's a continuous spell, obviously. And then once per turn, you can banish a Metaphys card from your hand. And if you do, draw 1 card. Once per turn, if your Metaphys card is in its owner's possession, I don't know why they have to like specify that, is banished. Apply the following effect depending on which turn it is. Well, whose turn it is. If it's your turn, all monsters on the field lose 500 attack and defense except Metaphys monsters. And if it's the opponent's turn, change all monsters' battle positions on the field except Metaphys monsters. So, remember I mentioned that like you got a card that reduces attack power of your opponent's stuff. This is the card that I was referring to. So this card, along with Ragnarok's effect to gain attack power, just really, really helps out to be able to screw over your opponent so you can get in that damage with Ragnarok and spell summon a monster from your deck. Also, neither of this card's effects, actually none of them, none of the 3 effects, are a hard once per turn. So therefore, if you have multiple Ace of Metaphys out, you can draw up to words of 3 cards per turn, and also reduce your opponent's monsters by 1,500 attack points, which is really, really, really good. The battle position thing isn't like the biggest thing in the world. It's a bit funny too, because if you have 2 Ace of Metaphys out, they'll just go right back to whatever battle position they were in, because one will switch them to defense, one will switch them back to attack position. It's just really, really stupid. But overall, both Ace of Metaphys and Metaphys Factor are such great cards that I feel like you really have to play 3 of in a deck to really, really be able to get max benefits from them, especially Ace of Metaphys, because it unbricks you, it gets your guys banished, and it just gets you more draws and everything, which is always great. Then we got Metaphys Dimension. This card is easily one of the best cards in the Archetype. Okay, I'm going to be like completely totally honest. I know I kind of said that Ragnarok was, but Metaphys Dimension is by far one of the best cards in the Archetype. Hands down. At least at the very least, the best support card. So, if your opponent spell summons a monster, except during the damage step, you can target one of your banished Metaphys monsters, special summon it, but banish it during the end phase of the next turn. If your other Metaphys card in its owner's possession is banished while this card is already face up on the field in your spell and trap card zone, You can target one card your opponent controls, banish it. You can only use each effective Metaphys dimension once per turn. So it's a hard once per turn, but however, what this card allows you to do is just so incredibly good. So, it's special summoning is the name of the game nowadays, and so this card just lets you get a free monster once a turn whenever your opponent special summons a monster. Doesn't matter whose turn it is, if it's your turn, your opponent's turn. If your opponent special summons a monster, you will get to special summon a Metaphys from your banish zone. And then, if a card is banned, well, one of your Metaphys cards is banished, you get to, well, banish a card your opponent controls, which is just great, because again, it says in your possession. So therefore, it doesn't matter if it's on the field, graveyard, hand, wherever. If a Metaphys card in your possession is banished, you will get the effect of dimension to banish a card your opponent controls. And that leads to some absolutely amazing trolling tactics that you can do to really just screw over your opponent. It's an easy out to stuff like Beals and back row and everything like that. It's just an absolutely amazing card, and it's one of the big control aspects of this deck, along with Daedalus and Nephthys to, which will banish your opponent's stuff. And then we got the two outliers from Duelist Alliance. So we got the normal monster, Metaphys Armed Dragon. He's a normal version of Dark Armed Dragon, and funnily enough, he actually shows up in the artwork of the field spell of like we got like Ragnarok summoning him from wherever. Don't play Metaphys Armed Dragon. I know the wiki recommends it just because you can trade him in, or I think, wait, is he? I think he's a level 7, 4, 3, 7. Yeah, like you can just get, if you get him in your graveyard, you can banish him for Executor, but there's better ways to do that. And then Horace is a good card, but right now there's no way to summon it in the deck without outside support, and he's really not worth summoning, to be honest. So I, again, have to recommend not to play him. I mean, if you really want to and you want to keep it to Metaphys stuff, go ahead and play one copy of each and find some level 2 monster you can play in the deck that has good synergy with the deck so that you can, well, summon Horace. So, yeah, these cards aren't that great, and it's because, well, they're, what, from 3-4 years ago in Duelist Alliance, first set of freaking what was it, Arc V, and we got the rest of Metaphys Archetype in the second set of Frames. It's such a long time between the two. I don't know why Konami waited so long to release the rest of the Metaphys stuff, but hey, whatever. And who knows, maybe we still got some more stuff down the drain, because Ragnarok is a tuner for some reason. Just saying, we might get a synchro later on, which would be cool. One that's actually summonable in the deck other than Horace. Now then, we got the outside support. So, first and foremost, I gotta bring up the big 5 or so, and that is Sacred Swords of 7 stars, Dimensional Fissure, Macrocosmos, Necroface, and Gold Sarcophagus. So, Sacred Swords of 7 stars, starting off, you just banish a level 7 monster you control or in your hand, and then you draw 2 cards. So, right now, the only level 7 in the deck is Daedalus, but because he's level 7 and not level 8, and therefore not a trade-in target, you got Sacred Swords of 7 stars to banish him, draw 2 cards, and then during the next standby phase, use as effect. Dimensional Fissure and Macrocosmos both fill the same void, where you just control the board even more. More stuff is going to go into the graveyard. Your Ragnarok, who would normally go to the graveyard, is going to go to the banished if he dies or anything. And then also it really screws over your opponent, because a lot of decks heavily utilize their graveyard. So these cards are just absolutely mandatory in the deck. They're both at 1, which sucks, but oh well. And then we got Necroface, who's currently semi-limited. And Necroface, I can't even begin to describe how good this card is in the deck. So Ragnarok is going to be banishing cards from the top of your deck a lot. And you're going to start wearing down on your deck a lot. And you're going to come close to decking out very, very often. And Necroface can put everything back into deck, which is just great. You maybe use Necroface to normal summon it, return everything from your banish to your deck and everything, just so that you don't deck out. And then the other big way that you use it is its other effect, where if it's banished, you banish the top 5 cards of both players' decks. Necroface just absolutely helps out, because if you normal summon Ragnarok and you banish Necroface off of Ragnarok's effect, you'll get to banish another 5 cards. So therefore you banished 8 cards instead of 3 cards, and therefore you got a better chance of banishing more Metaphys monsters, so then you get their effects. And then, well, if you banish the Necrophase off of Necrophase's effect, there goes another 5 cards. So there's 13 banished cards. And you also got 13 cards out of your opponent's deck, which is really, really, really good. And heck, just even 5 cards out of your opponent's deck is really good. Because, like, if you're playing against Spiral or something, and you just banished all their quick fixes off the top of their deck, they're going to be very, very hurting. And then also I gotta bring up Goat Sarcophagus. Goat Sarcophagus is so incredibly good in this deck. So for those who don't know what Goat Sarcophagus does, you banish a card from your deck and then add it to your hand after your second standby phase after activation of Goat Sarcophagus. You don't care about that, okay? You're mainly going to be banishing your Metaphys monsters or Necrophase, okay? Oftentimes, I'll banish one or the other depending on what I have in my hand. If I need to get a Ace of Metaphys to my hand, I'll banish Nephthys and then use her effect next turn to search out Ace of Metaphys. While if I don't really need anything in particular, or if I want to be able to get Necrophase to my hand later on, I'll banish Necrophase. Necrophase will banish top 5 cards in my deck. And then, hey, I just got more stuff in my banish zone, and then be able to get Necrophase back to my hand in 2 turns. And this deck is a very, very grindy deck, so long duels tend to happen. That's like your opponent just, OTKs you. Then there's also Waterfall of Dragon Souls. I personally haven't played this. It's the only card on this screen that I have not tested out in the deck. Mostly because I found that the deck doesn't really actually brick as often as you might think. And Waterfall of Dragon Souls, as nice as it would be, I found that it's not really necessary right now, to be honest, okay? It just really isn't. Maybe if the deck gets more support, or maybe if they're more testing, but really, honestly, I don't think Waterfall of Dragon Souls is all that necessary at the moment. So Absorption is a funny little card to play in this deck. So if a card is banished, you gain 500 life points for each. And if you have multiples, you get more than 500. You get, like, for instance, if you have Soul Absorption, 2 of copies out on field, you get 1,000 for each card banished. It just racks up your life points really, really quick. Makes it even harder for your opponent to kill you, which just extends the grind games with this deck. And then it's really ridiculous to how high your life points can get. If you banish Necrophase with this card while this card is out on the field, you're going to get 5,000 life points. Because it banished 5 for you, 5 for your opponent. That's 2,500 for each. You get 5,000 life points. That is ridiculous. I love it. Soul Absorption is a hilarious card to play in the deck. Is it maybe the best thing in the world? No, not really, but being able to gain more life points and be able to survive for longer, because, again, sometimes this deck takes a bit to get going, but however, you can banish so much in this deck, it's ridiculous. And Soul Absorption just helps out so much. And if your opponent banishes stuff, you gain life points too, so it's really, really good. And then we got Card of Sanctity, the one and only deck that this card is playable in. So, for those who don't know what Card of Sanctity does, you can only activate this card if you have 1 card in your hand and 1 card on field. Okay, cool. Card of Sanctity banishes all cards in your hand and on your field. Draw 2 cards. So you gotta banish everything on your field and everything in your hand to draw 2 cards. Now, in most decks, this is terrible because, well, you don't want to do that. But in Metaphys, you do. If you got a bunch of Metaphys monsters, or you got a Necrophase and you, like, just bricked, this card is so incredibly good. One time while I was playtesting it, and I've been playtesting 2 copies, I dropped it down to 1 though, because there are times where you just don't want to see it at all. And you basically just activate it and you banish all your Metaphys monsters. Maybe you'll lose some spells and traps too, but hey, don't care. You just got to draw 2 cards and you banish a bunch of monsters, so then you can get their effects during the next standby phase. This card is really good in the deck, but I'd always say it's a 1 to 2 of, like, really, to be fair. This card you maybe want to play 2 of. You can only play 1 of each of these. Haven't tested this. Play 3 of this. Play 2 of this. I've been playtesting 2 and 3. I've been liking 3 though, because I see it more often and gain a crap ton of life points. And then Card of Sanctity is just hilarious. So really, in all honesty, you can play any of these cards in the deck. I highly recommend Necrophase, Goat Sarcophagus, Sacred Swords of 7 Stars, Dimensional Fissure, and Macro though. If you want to be cheesy and just gain a crap ton of life points, play Soul Absorption. I haven't tested Waterfall, so if anybody has, please let me know how much you like this card in the deck. And then Card of Sanctity, I recommend 1 of it just in case, but obviously you don't have to if you don't want to. It's a great card in the deck though. And then, so just wrapping up, I want to just mention that this deck is a really fun deck to play. It's not the greatest deck in the world, and it's just a really fun deck to play. It's a great deck, and it's a good deck. I feel like that with a bit more support, Metaphys could really be a good contender for being able to do well in a regional and stuff. And hey, who knows, maybe somebody might be able to do well in a regional with it already. Just gotta draw right, build it right, you know, and not do against Spyro every round. And then also, there's just so much possibility for future support that I really feel like that if you want to build this deck, go ahead and build it now. It's super cheap. It's such a fun deck to play. I can't stress that enough. I don't know what it is about this deck. It's just so fun. It's a really great deck, and it's a fun deck, and it just does so much and has this really cool and interesting gimmick that not many other decks have. Or heck, any other decks. The only one that I can think of that's anywhere close to it is Cosmo, because you got the little guys who go into the big guys, you know. So I don't know. So what do you guys think of Metaphys? If you played it, do you like it? Do you hate it? What do you guys think that they need? Thank you all for watching. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Have a great day. If it's your birthday, happy birthday, and see you all later. Peace out and goodbye.